As would have it, there's every connector under the sun in this kit, except for the ones I actually need. And you happen to touch the casing of this VCM with that screwdriver, you will destroy the VCM. Get out of there. They protrude out and they catch the front of the seat as it's going on. So be really careful. And I have noticed that I've done a little bit of damage to the stitching here. For today's video, we're going to be wiring up my new Saddlemen road sofa seat. Now, I've been backwards and forwards on this, on which is the best way to wire it in. I was actually going to try and do it similar to how the Indian factory seat, heated and cool seat is installed, and that's running off a 16-pin plug and things like that. And I bought a male counterpart because there's a harness plug under the seat. But after speaking to the guys from Saddlemen, they're pretty adamant that this seat is designed to be hooked up directly to the battery, and they didn't advise I try and deviate from that route, just to hook it up as it was designed to be hooked up. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just hook it up straight to the battery. The downside of that is that the seat is live the whole time, so which means that it's not an issue other than if I forget to turn the seat off. If I go for a ride and forget to turn the seat off, it's going to drain my battery, and if I go and have lunch or something, it's going to flatten my battery probably. So I've got to be super careful and super vigilant that I don't accidentally, or my wife doesn't accidentally leave the seat on when I park the bike or when I stop the bike. So that's the only issue that I'm going to have. I've just got to be really careful about that. So we'll be doing a lot of double checking of the switches before we get off, and make sure it's not hooked up. So that's what we'll do. I had to buy some little ring terminals to attach it to the battery, because the wiring that comes with the Saddlemen road sofa, you just have exposed wires that you need to connect something to those wires to then hook it to the battery. Now with the Harley road sofa, if you do get a Harley version, they seem to do a little bit different for Harley, in that you get the wiring ready to connect to the battery, and also you get a little pin, I suppose you could call it, that piggybacks onto a fuse. So you can just pull your fuse out, piggyback the lead onto that fuse and press it back in, and then that's sort of, you're getting your power that way. And that way it's been switched by the ignition. So I think that's a better way of doing it. That's the way they seem to do it on the Harley from the videos I've seen. And it'd be great in the future if Saddlemen could do that with the Indian version, where you just piggyback onto a fuse and then you have a lead that connects to your battery and you're done, or even to a frame somewhere. That should still work as well. But anyway, this is the way this one's set up. So let's get it installed. Now, when you get the Saddlemen seat for the Indian, this is all the wiring that's attached under the seat. And I took it all off just because trying to fit the seat on. I actually had a challenge getting the seat on. So, and I will cover that when I'm taking the seat off. I'll show you what I'm talking about. But yeah, so there's a lot of wiring, and just trying to deal with this and trying to get the seat on was just was driving me a bit crazy. So I took it all off. It just unplugs from the bottom of the seat. And you'll see here what I'm talking about. You can see that. Just got bare wires for the positive and negative. And there's, two of each of those that I've got to put a ring terminal on the end so I can connect it to the battery. Once I connect it to the battery, then I'll find a spot for all this cabling. And I want to just have it all tied away where I've only got access to these two fuse blocks. So if you blow a fuse, they just got a little cap on them. That's your fuse in there. So if you blow a fuse, you can easily access that. So I'll make that readily available. And then I'll have it all tied up. So this is the plan. So that all these plugs are then available in a row to just plug the seat straight into it. So if you taking the seat off or putting the seat back on, you just have to reach under, undo these 4 plugs and then pull the seat off. In the wiring harness is also these 2 relays as well. So the relays and the fuses will help protect your seat from overcurrent, and it is fully protected, and it's going to be fine connecting it to the battery. It's going to be all good. It's just that I won't have the ability to turn the ignition off and isolate the seat from the power. Now, what I've also done is I'm not sure if there's any particular way these plugs have to go back on, but I've labelled them all to make sure they connect back to the same plug under the seat. Now, to remove the seat, it's just this, I think it's a 6mm Allen bolt on the back here. And I've just pressed down on the seat because there is a little bit of a gap between the back of the seat and the guard. Where's that rubber washer? Where'd it go? There's a rubber washer that comes with your Saddlemen seat, and that always pops off. So you can see there's just a little bit of a gap between the back of the seat and the guard when you first install it, and I just press the seat down and do the bolt up. Just something to keep in mind when you install your Saddlemen seat. Now, you've got to be really careful taking this seat off and on because it's really tight up this end. And I don't know if when they designed it, the bolts were different on, let's see, the bolts that hold the tank on, where the tank mounts, whether they were different when they first designed it, because it's really tight and the opening of the Saddlemen seat actually rubs against those bolts as you're pressing it on. And I have noticed that I've done a little bit of damage to the stitching here from those bolts. So just be mindful of that when you're putting it on. You have to go on really, it's tricky. You have to sort of shimmy it on without digging in those bolts into the actual lining and the stitching. And underneath you can see there the 4 plugs that we need to pick up when we're reinstalling the seat. Another thing with the seat installation, these pins here, gave me a lot of trouble. I just could not get the seat on. They kept digging into the actual frame of the bike. So what I did was I actually had to just sort of roll them over a little bit to get it to slide on. I just grabbed a pair of vice grips and just bent the ends over. I think that might be something Saddlemen should look at when they're doing future versions of this seat, maybe to have a little bit of a lip or a roll so it can slide on more easy. So what happens is those pins come under here as the seat goes on, and you can see, I don't know if you can see that this bit was digging in there, it just would not go on. It was just jamming in, and the same here was pressing against the prong as it was going like that. I just couldn't get it on. So when I put that little bend on the bottom of it, it allowed it to slip under easier, and I got the seat on. Now, right here are those 2 bolts I was talking about. They protrude out and they catch the front of the seat as it's going on. So be really careful with those. You've got to sort of just work your seat over them. And I do wonder, as I say, if they had maybe a more rounded head on them when they first designed the seat, and they've changed the bolts at some point during this bike's life cycle, because it is a bit tight now to get them over those bolts. It goes on, but you've just got to be super careful. Now, just on the wiring, the stock seat uses this plug here. I did buy the male counterpart to go into here, thinking that I might use that. But that wasn't advisable. Saddlemen's recommended. And they do have this little plug here, which is available, and that's a 12-volt plug as well. And I reckon I could use that. So I wonder if the stock heated seat uses a combination of the two. Although I have seen a harness for the stock heated seat where it has a plug, or the harness plugs into here, and it comes into a 2-pin plug. So I'm sure that you can use this for heating the seat, but from the documentation I saw, I'm positive that Indian used this to power the seat, but Saddlemen don't recommend it, so I'm not going to do that. We'll do what they say, and we'll have to lift up the ECU and then get to the battery under here. Now, as you can see, there's not a lot of room under here, so I'm going to have to be really careful where I put all the wiring. I think I'm going to have to just bunch it all up here and it's really the only spot. Maybe have some of it run past here, but there's not a lot of room. So it's going to be a little bit tricky. Now, these are the tools I'm going to be using for the installation. I had this set here. As you would have it, there's every connector under the sun in this kit, which is great, except for the ones I actually needed, which are these ring terminal connectors to connect to the battery. Now, I haven't actually had a look at the battery terminal connectors. I'm pretty sure these are the right size, and I may end up having to go and get bigger ones if these eyelets aren't big enough. I reckon they will be, but if they aren't, I might have to go and get some bigger ones. Now it says here to take a 6mm wire. These aren't 6mm, but I've got to do two. I'm going to tap two in at once. So by the time I wrap them around each other and poke it in and then crimp it, I reckon they'll be fine. But we'll see how we go. Now, if you are tackling this yourself, you have to be very careful. This is the VCM, Vehicle Control Module, for the Indian Chieftain. And in the manual, it tells you to be very careful, because once you lift this up out of the way and start accessing the battery, if you're using a screwdriver and you're unscrewing a terminal or a spanner or whatever, and you happen to touch the casing of this VCM with that screwdriver, you will destroy the VCM. And that's going to be probably $1,500, $2,000, I don't know, to replace that. When I saw Jeremy doing the work, I saw that he lifted this up out of the way and wrapped it in a towel to ensure that he wasn't going to accidentally contact it with one of his tools. So if you're going to do this yourself, you have to do that. You have to just pick it up out of the way, wrap it in something to ensure that you're not going to accidentally contact the positive terminal and potentially short out the VCM. And when removing battery terminals, it's negative off first, and then positive, and then when you're putting it back on, positive on first, negative last. This is page 147 of the owner's manual. As it says there, do not allow the VCM to touch the battery terminals, or it will damage the VCM instantly. Now, we're not removing the battery, we're just going to remove the terminals, but always consult your manual. Okay, so there's a negative terminal and lead, so we need to remove that first. And then we've got to undo this bolt right here so we can flip the VCM out of the way to get to the positive terminal. So our negative lead from our seat's going to hook on right there to that terminal post. You're wondering where the light's coming from. Got a little light on my cap. Yeah, well, I've got that out. I might just check something. My concern was that these ring terminals wouldn't have been big enough for this bolt, but it's fine. It's going to go in just nicely. Perfect. All right, now I think we've got maybe a 5-6mm Allen bolt there. Got my towel to wrap around the VCM. So this is a 5mm Allen key, which is just a bolt holding the VCM down. So we'll remove that. And now we need to just pick this up and flip it up out of the way. Oh, it's in a bit of a carrier there. Okay. So we'll just wrap that up. Ensure that it's not going to contact anything. And we don't accidentally contact anything. All right. And there's our positive terminal right there. Again, 10mm bolt. This is what we'll have to attach our positive leads to when we attach the leads. All right, so then that's all ready to go, ready to receive the wiring. Let's go do the crimping section now. Okay, I've got my wire strippers, crimper. We'll need a couple of these. I was in two minds whether to do one in each and then, just double up. So I've got two on the negatives and two on the positive. I'll see how this wire is going to look in there, how it's going to fit. Yeah, I think we've got room for two in there, no problems. So if I had two of these together, will they still go in? Let's have a look at that. Yeah, that'll be fine. So I'll do two together and then crimp them down, and they should be good. Now I might just strip a little bit more wire off. Can you see that? Yeah, I'll strip a bit off, and then we've got. I'll have plenty, and I can just trim off what I don't want. That'll be fine. So this sort of stuff's always much easier when you've got the right tools for the job. Mm-hmm. So we got plenty. As you can see, she's sticking through there. So it's going to be about there. I'll just nip a bit off the end. Or maybe we could even double it back a little. Yeah, I'll nip a little bit off the end, and then, all right, I think that'll work. Here's our for a 6mm colour-coded yellow, so I'm assuming that we go right to there. Try and do this as tidy as possible. Okay. Good test. They're not going nowhere. So that's one pair hooked up. That's a fuse. It's a positive. So now I need to do the negatives. So I'll strip these two back. Now these are thinner, so I might have to double these over because these seem to be thinner than the positive leads. So I'll give myself plenty to work with. So if they turn out to be too thin, what I'll do is I'll just bend them back over so that it doubles up. Might need to go a little bit more than that actually. Plenty. And then if I just double them over like that, it should give me the thickness I need to go into here. Let's see if that works. Get in the right spot. Come on. about there. That move. This doesn't work. Can always do it again. Yep, they're in. Nice and firm. So they're not going anywhere. So now we have our positive and our negative ready to go. All right, now we can attach these to the battery and then put the VCM back on and then start trying to find a spot to put all the wiring. Okay, so positive terminal of the battery is going to take that. I might just open it up so they can sit in there for a minute. Bolt through here, and then that'll go through there, and that'll go into the positive terminal. Be good if I could tuck that under when I put it down. We'll see how we go. We'll get it started with the screwdriver, and then we can do the negative. I'm not going to do it tight just yet. I want to see how we can sort of get this protected. Can that go under? Be good if we could go over everything. I don't know if it will. Not ideal. I think you might have to come out this way. That's probably better, yeah. We'll do it that way. But the VCM, it's got to come down here. And we can't have any risk of this touching the bottom of the VCM because that would be disastrous. If something becomes exposed here, all right, I really want to try and take it this way if I can. I think we'll try, yeah, that's better. I just want to make sure there's no chance that the positive can contact the bottom of the VCM. Okay, so that's all right. So we'll do that. And that'll go on like that. That's good, that's out of the way, nice. Just get it up tight. Okay, that's on, all right. I've got the positive lead on. Here's our two fuses, so they're in a handy spot. So now I can bring the VCM back down and bolt that down, and then we can connect our negative terminals. One VCM. Now it has to go back into now. I should have pulled that back out of the way before I did all this, because there's a risk of that touching the negative terminal. So yeah, make sure, don't do what I just did. Make sure this is well clear before you do anything else. So that was bad. I hope that didn't cause me any issues. So I can tap that down. Okay, so that's in. So now we can reconnect the negative terminal just to go under there. Down here. We also have to get my little screw and negative leads here. Try and tidy this up a bit actually. I've got my suspension here, so I'm really mindful of having anything near that because that's going to be compressing. I want to make sure I keep things clear of that. I think what we'll do is we'll just tap it in under here. That will hold this away from the spring. Then we can come over here and attach it that way. to the negative terminal. Got our bolt. It goes through. All right, that's ready to go down and on. And again, I'll use my screwdriver. Where's my screwdriver? So we use a screwdriver to push it down. Now I'm making sure my hand's not touching any part of the negative terminal in case there's a spark. Right, is that going to go in? Where are we? This is tricky. So I'm going blind here. Oh, yeah. That was lucky. The bolt didn't come out. At least I've got the terminals lined up now, anyway, at least. Down there. Okay. This is tricky. It'd be nice. Get down there. There we go. This is a lot more fiddly than I was expecting it to be. Get on there. Okay. Reassess just a little bit. Okay. Good thing is negative terminal is holding itself in position over a hole. That's good. Let's get this screw started and in. I think the problem is I'm trying to go around the corner. It's not making things easy. So close. Just worried about dropping that screw too, you know. This is where a magnetic screwdriver might be handy. Oh my God. It's, oh, get out of there. What a pain. Touch anything? How am I going to do this? I think I might have to tackle it from this side. Try and go that way, I think. And let you see all this so you can see. All right, I'm going to try and pin it from this side. See if that'll work. And in you go. Start. Come on. It's moved. You've got very little room here. Get that down flat. Somehow. Change my grip, maybe. I like how it keeps sparking either. It's not good. I think we're there. And this bend up a bit. All right, I think we're, well, it started at least. Oh, that was tricky. Is it pressing up against anything there? Yeah, I think that's all right there. Have to go like that, I reckon. I really don't like mucking around with stuff with the battery, especially when things start sparking. That can't be good. Now, I don't like the way that negative lead sort of shifted over a little bit. I might just try and position it back a bit. There we go. Oh, phew, that's on. Now I'm just going to power on the bike, make sure I didn't cause any issues with sparking and things like that. Make sure there's no engine warning lights. Look A-OK there, which is good. So that's good. So next step is to grab the seat, plug it in, and make sure it's working. Now, let's have a look. We've got 1 to 1. That way, it goes that way. So 1 to 1, 2 to 2. Looks like this one's been squashed. Must have been squashed under the seat. It's not good. It's 2 to 2. I'll have to watch that. There we got 4 to 4 and 3 to 3. Now, because we're just plugging straight to the battery, this should be live and ready to go. Just flip the seat over a little bit. Let's see if I can show you the switches. So if I switch, can you see that? Yeah. Yeah, green, red. All right, that's working. Green, can you see that? Red. All right, we're working. We're in business. Okay. Now all I'm going to do now is to unplug everything again, tidy up all this wiring, so then all we have is enough wire to plug these in. So these need to be shorter. 3 and 4 need to be longer. And then 1 and 2 can be shorter because they'll be tapping in right here. So really we want about that much length for 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 can just be straight down there. Let's unplug it again. If we don't have to remove the seat, often will be good. And that's that here. Well, it's certainly designed not to come undone easy. All right, let's get the seat out of the way. Tidy up the wiring. Now, let's try and sort out this wiring. So 3 and 4 we want a little bit longer. We have to have these fuses accessible. All right, let's tidy up this wiring, eh? We're getting closer, which is good. So that can go there. So if I can get these under control, we might just focus on these. How am I going to do this? I want to keep those fuses readily available. Clamp those there. That'll sit them down there then, won't it? So much cable to sort out. It's crazy. I'll tie them all together there. Got to keep it flexible so that if someone needs to work on the battery, I don't have to undo a heap of crap to get to it. I've got to keep this, make sure nothing's going to press on that from the seat, actually. Yeah. What does that sit on? Okay, I think I'm going to keep them down out of the way. I'm just worried about the seat pressing on them. I wonder if I put them down there, might be better. That might be better. I think I'll go there. Yeah, I think that'll be a nice little spot from there. Shouldn't be touching anything. All right. One done. I can cable tie, that is. Now I'm going to double this back over this way. I think you might tap that onto there or here. That might be better. Go there. Tap that onto there. And I'll keep them both down there and readily accessible for me to get to them if I need to. Pop them down here as well. So they're attached to that. All right, so let's tidy that up. Can go there. All right, it's getting tidier. Okay, now we have this, and we have this. So this really needs to become that, doesn't it? Okay, so I reckon if I just tie that to that like so, or maybe down here, that was like that. Tie it to this one. The goal is to try and make it look like this was supposed to be here. Sort of. Long enough? No, if you are. So we got these relays too that we've got to find a spot for. I think we're going to have to go like that or like that. Pop, yeah, we'll probably pop a relay down here. I think they're waterproof. That goes like that. It's not going to contact the suspension. We keep these here like that. I'll take this here. We can take that down. Yeah, so 1 and 2 can go like that. 1 and 2. So they could be taped like that. bigger than that. So 1 and 2 will get that treatment. How's that going to work out? Can you under there? Yep. It's 1 and 2. So they're available. Okay. So that's all right there. Got a relay there, which is not going to hurt anything sitting there. Clear of the shock. Now at this point, I think I just want to offer the seat up to the bike and see how we're looking. Trying to work out what's going to be squashing and what's going to be all right. Because I think that maybe one of these plugs was being squashed up under here. So, hang on a minute. 1 and 2. I think I got that wrong. 3 and 4 are the short ones. 1 and 2 are the long ones. That's no good, is it? And 3 and 4 are my shorties. So they'll plug in here, 3 and 4. And then 1 and 2 need to come back up here somewhere. I need to take this cable tie off and put 3 and 4 there, because I'll just plug straight in. And then 1 and 2 will need a little bit of length to get back to there. Where is it? 1 and 2. Let me just offer it up and we'll see where we're going to be. So the seat position is going to sit around about there. And this is 1 and 2. Okay, so there, that's not going to be long enough. 3 and 4 are fine. 3 and 4. That's 3 and 4. The 3 and 4 have to be here. 1 and 2 have to be longer, but not by a lot. Where am I going to direct them to, actually? Probably under here somewhere, really. Will that work or not? 1 and 2. You know what? That might still work. 1, 2. So 1 will go to this one. That's 2. That's 2. That's 2. 2 and 2. 1 and 1. So that'll be all right. That'll be all right. No, it might be tight because I have to pull the seat back. Just need a little bit more off these. Okay. And then, really, they can all be in the same spot. They can all tie up here. And just leave 1 and 2 a little bit longer. All right, let's do that. So really, we can all come here. Let's go that one again. We just want 3 and 4 longer. Sorry, 1 and 2 longer. So you're right there. That's all right. Let's lift 1 and 2 out of the way for a minute. Go this way. Let's just cable tie that to there. the little one. Way. And then we've got, where are we? 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 3 and 4 need to be here somewhere. It's definitely becoming a bit of a rat's nest under here, but we've got this little void here where I want to try and have everything sort of over this side, but we do need a little bit of length for these guys. We're going to need to know which plug goes where. So I want to make sure that when the seat's on, everything's sort of tucked, can easily compress down out of the way. And I'm going to do the same for these two. We'll tie those two together. 3 and 4. So 3 and 4, 1 and 2. We've got room here for them to just press down. Let's get all this tied together as one little bundle. That's got that. There. All right. Trying to make sure that we're guiding everything down this way. And also keeping clear of that shock as well. It's going to be a tricky part. So you can go there. You can go down in there. So if you were tied there, you were tied there. Now, if Jeremy needs to take the battery out, undo that bolt, take off that lead, got full access. It's not interfering with anything, so that's great. We've got room here for the cables to come down so that the plugs aren't going to be squashed between the tank and the seat, unless these ones here end up over this way. We'll see how that goes. I think we're pretty good to put the seat back on. But before I do that, there is one thing I want to do, and that is I want to just put a bit of tape or something on this stitching here to just hold it together while it goes back onto the bike, because those bolts have done a little bit of damage having the seat off and on, off and on, off and on. So let me get some black tape. Just a little bit of black tape on there, I think won't hurt that at all. So what do I think of the install? Well, it's not difficult. You just got to be, careful about things that you're doing. Like these little clips, it cost me $5. That's all I had to buy, really. Well, that's if you've got all these other tools. You might need a crimper. You can strip the wire without one of these, but it's sort of it's not difficult. It's just you just got to keep your wits about you, I think. Now this is not ideal. I will take it to an upholsterer and get them to fix it, but just for now, just to keep it a bit protected while I'm putting the seat on, I think that won't be a bad idea. And you're not going to see that from outside anyway. Yeah, so it's not difficult. You just got to take your time, be careful, especially taking the VCM off the battery and disconnecting the battery and things like that. If you just take it easy and think about things. The wiring I've got pretty tidy, I reckon. Again, I've been very careful as to where I've put it, and yeah, knowing I've got this bit of a void here that I can let things sort of settle into. These two will come across here, so they'll probably end up dropping down like that, I would say. These two will tuck in here. There'll be extra cable. I'll just make sure I fold up there. And I think we should be pretty good. I've got a little bit of room here. I can poke some of the cable too if it's going to be sticking out. But I think that's come up pretty good. It's tidied up all that cabling. It's just attached to this harness here. And, Jeremy can undo the bolt here if he needs to lift. Jeremy's my Indian technician. He can undo that bolt, flip the VCM. Everything's clear so he can get to the battery. There's the negative terminal there. This is the lead that we attached, the negative. So it's all easy to get to, and it's not going to interfere with him when he's working on a bike for servicing. All he has to do is just unplug these leads. I'll leave these marked so he knows which goes back on where, because it's not really obvious, and they're both the same plug. They're all the same plug, so it would be easy to get them mixed up. So next step is let's try and put the seat on, get it buttoned up, and see how that goes. Now, for this install video, I think I'm just going to upload the thing pretty much in its entirety so you can see exactly what I went through, and if you're planning on doing this, installing it yourself, what you can expect, and what challenges you're going to face or what may arise when you're trying to set this up. Now, don't forget, this is only for the heated seat option. If you don't get the heated seat option, you won't have to deal with any of this other than just being careful with the installation of the seat itself. Watch you don't damage that stitching. And you may have to just bend the end of those little prongs, I'm going to call them prongs, over a little bit to get them to allow the front of the seat to slide up. Try and get this. It's got to go around about there. So we're going to sit around about there. Let's see how this works. If I just rest the seat on the frame here, let's connect 1 and 2. We got 2. Where's 1? 1 to 1. That feels like it's going to be okay to connect that. That's fine. 2 to 2. Where's 2? 2 to 2. 2 to 2 is a little bit of a stretch, so that's going to be interesting. I'll have to, that could be a problem. We'll see how that goes. 2 to 2 to 2, yeah. So let's see what happens there. Okay, now this is 4, 3, 4, 4 to 4. And 3 to 3. All right, so that's all in. Now I'm hoping that we can tuck them down there. That's good. Where these are going to lie, I don't know. That's going to go there. So they're going to sit, hopefully, by the time they get pushed in, just into this little space here. That's the hope. Anyway, let's try and get the seat on and see what. Once it's on, I can't really see much, so I'll try and make sure it's that. Okay, that's it. All right. Try and get a look. I want to see where these plugs at the back are going to sit. I think they're going to be all right. I think they'll tuck in. That's okay. Well, I think we've got it pretty good. Now to challenge, get this seat on. Going to get those pins engaged at the bottom. This is where it gets super tricky. And I'm trying not to damage, because these bolts are touching. They're touching the stitching. They're just right here, so it's difficult not to damage them. Really, try it, flare it out. Nope. So difficult to put on. I wish they would do Saddlemen for the next version of this. The Indian seat has two holes that those prongs go into. That's a much better system. It's just easy just to put it on and then use the mounting bolts here. Put the tabs on this seat. It'll just make everyone's life so much easier, I reckon. It's a lovely seat. It's a great seat, but getting it on this is very, very difficult. And I'm not exaggerating. This is exactly what it's like to get on. And I just couldn't get it on with the tabs, those tabs in the standard position. And I can see why I damaged that stitching there. It's just those bolts sticking out. It takes a fair bit of force to get this thing on. Right, let me just raise this up so I can get closer to it. If there is a different way I'm supposed to be putting this on, and someone from Saddlemen's watching this, please let us know. There we go. No, one side's on, one side's not. Okay. All right. So press down, push in. No. This one here. There we go. There we go. That's it. But you can see why I've got to put so much force on that to get it in. Whew. All right. Now make sure this feels, just feeling those plugs at the back, they feel all right. Feel like they're okay. Oh, we're on. It's not easy. Okay. So now what I need is my 6mm Allen key, this little rubber washer, and we're good. And I just press down the seat to get the bolt started. And then do that up. And we're on. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the heated seat install for the Saddlemen Road sofa. Just checking the switches. Green on the back, red on the back, green on the front, red on the front. So that gives us low and high. So next step is to take it for a test ride and see how well they work. But we might make that for another video. This is just install video. The good thing is with the lights I can see if it is actually on, and I can check it before I go so that I know that it hasn't been left on. So I think it's going to be all right. But like I said, I did look at trying to find a lead to tie into, but Saddlemen were pretty adamant that I connected directly to the battery as it was intended and as it was designed. So because the seat has, is fused and all the wiring's there, it has relays. So I thought, okay, in the end, I'll just connect it to the battery, and then, I've done the right thing and it's set up correctly. And if there's issues, well, then it's not on me to a certain degree. All right. I hope you found this video useful. Definitely, it's not hard to do. Just be really careful about the steps you take, and you can get it on. And hopefully, this has been of value and of use to you if you're even considering buying a Saddlemen Road sofa. Now, I have done a video on the comfort and what it's like, and I'll link to that video right now if you want to watch that next, and that'll just give you a good rundown of what the seat's actually like to use. I'm not going to go into it now, but just watch that video. It'll tell you everything you need to know. I can't explain it in 10 seconds. But yeah, and this video is the install. And then for the next video, we'll do the heated seat testing for effectiveness. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Thanks again for your support. And until next time, bye for now.